Hello friends, and welcome back to Our Silver Moments. If you're new here, my name is Colleen, and today I am going to take advantage of hot cross buns being in the grocery store, and I am going to make a bread pudding with them. And it does make a delicious bread pudding, and I would like to share that with you today. So I'm going to gather up the ingredients to get started, and I will be back right after this. Now, to get this started, I have purchased a couple of these packages of hot cross buns from the store, and I know that they're at least a day old because I bought them yesterday. They're probably a couple of days old. The hot cross buns are made with an egg-based dough, like a brioche dough, which is perfect for making this kind of a bread pudding. So by all means, you could make your own brioche and then leave it sit a day or two and then go ahead and make it. You can use, I have made bread pudding with donuts that you buy at the store that are day old, or at the bakery. In Canada we have Tim Hortons. I've even made it with Tim Hortons donuts. You can make it with plain bread. You can make it with French bread, a big loaf from the store. The methods are all very similar, but the taste can be very different because of the kind of bread that you're using for the recipe. So the hot cross bun, I thought you might be interested. I'm just going to cut this into, almost bite-sized pieces. You could tear it if you prefer. These are glazed, so they're a bit sticky, so I'm going to end up all sticky anyway, but I'm going to start cutting them and talk about the history of the hot cross bun. And I never knew until I was an adult that there was actually a history behind the hot cross bun. I had no idea that these tasty buns that our family used to always have at Easter actually had a story behind them. But history says that the hot cross bun was traditionally served on Good Friday, which for Christian people is the end of the season of Lent. And the buns with the cross on the top, the cross was to represent Christ's crucifixion on the cross, and they are generally filled with some kind of different fruits like raisins and orange peels and so forth. It's said that the orange peel in the hot cross bun was to represent the bitterness of Jesus passing on the cross, and they're usually, and these are, they have quite a bit of different kinds of spices in them, and that was to represent the spices that were used to embalm Jesus' body after his crucifixion. So, things I didn't know. Maybe you didn't either. Now, I know not everybody's a fan of a hot cross bun, because some of our family ate them, like myself, and some didn't care for them at all. But I have carried on the tradition, even if it's just me eating them every year. I buy a packet of hot cross buns. I've never made them from scratch. My mom did, but I've never made them from scratch. I buy a package every year just to have a hot cross bun at Easter time. I was really surprised to see them in the stores so early this year, so I thought before I missed this opportunity, I would get the buns and get this video up for you guys so that perhaps you can use this recipe over the Easter holidays as well. This recipe is filled with all kinds of wonderful flavors. Now I've put in 6 large buns in there, and I am going to just add maybe 1 more. I want maybe 2 more. I want this to be quite full, so I'm just going to grab the other package and I'll move on to the next one. Now we make a custard to go on to any bread pudding. It doesn't matter what kind of bread you're using. You make a custard to cover the bread, and the custard is absorbed into the bread and cooks it nice and gently. And then we'll make a glaze for over top of it. You know, I think I'm there. No, I got a little space in there. Why not fill it up? Now my husband will definitely eat a hot cross bun, and that's why there's some missing from the container. We helped ourselves yesterday when I brought them home from the store. We had some hot cross buns. Now I'm just packing them into this dish that I intend to cook it in. And I'm going to set that aside, wash my hands, tidy this up, and gather the ingredients that we need for the custard that goes onto the hot cross buns. Now we're going to start this custard with 4 whole eggs. These are extra large, but large works just as well. My recipe actually calls for large, but I picked up extra large eggs. That's fine, it won't affect the recipe at all. You can see, I think that this comes together pretty quick, and it would come together quicker for you because you are not making sure that everything is right for the video. So I'm going to whisk these eggs a little. And right now I'm going to, because I want it to cool some, I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This isn't pure, this is artificial. The pure is pretty expensive, folks. Now I'm going to add the melted butter, and I'm going to keep stirring as I do. That little beep means our oven is up to temperature. Now I'm going to add, whoops, bring that back. I'm going to add 2 cups of half and half. And this is 18% cream. That's 1, 2, and I'm also going to add to this 1 cup of whole milk. Now the last step in this is just to add some nutmeg to it, which I've forgotten to bring out here. Oh no, it isn't. I need some sugar in there as well. Now, my regular recipe says a half a cup of sugar, but because I am using the glazed version of these hot cross buns, not a regular bread dough, I'm only going to add 1/4 cup because I think that'll give me all the sweetness that I need. Now, I'm just going to grab the nutmeg, and we'll grind a little nutmeg in there, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Now I like to add nutmeg that's freshly grated. It's up to you though. If you just have regular ground nutmeg, that works too. I just find there's more flavor in it when you grate it yourself. And we only need, you know, a scant 1/8 of a teaspoon in there. Nutmeg, when it's freshly grated, has a very strong flavor. Okay. Get her all mixed up good. Now, I'm going to bring this pan back, And I am going to add all the bread into this bowl because I want it to soak really good. And then once it's empty, I'm going to wash the pan. I'm going to butter it. And I'm going to leave this soak, the bread soak, in here for about 30 minutes. And then it'll be ready to go back into the pan for the oven. Looks like I packed it in there pretty good. Actually, it's staying in there because it's that sticky from the glaze from the store. And that's why I reduced the amount of sugar. Okay, now we want every piece of bread to be well coated. And if we can make it stay underneath there, all the better. Because we want it to soak up all the custard. Now, when I say we want it to soak it all up, I don't mean that there will be no custard left, but it could very well be that, because I'm looking down into the bowl and I can see the custard just disappearing. If that happens, don't be alarmed. It means that everything is on the right track. So I'm going to wash up and I will see you back here in 30 minutes. Now here I am back, and I am just going to butter up this pan, and I don't know if you all know about this. I think I've shown it on another video, but I use a little baggie like this to do my buttering, but I turn it inside out first, and then I pick up a bit of butter, and then I butter the pan. And I want to butter this really well because these custards with the eggs in them, that protein, wants to stick hard to the pan. So anytime you're working with butter, anytime you're working with eggs in a situation like this, you definitely want to do that. Now, I can turn this, hold on to it and turn it back around. And if there's not much in there, I could throw that away. But if there was some in there, I could just stick it into the refrigerator for the next time I need to butter something. And then open the bag, put my hand in, turn it through, and it would be ready to go. So that's why I do it that way. Now I'm just going to grab the spoon out of the drawer, and I am going to tip all of this into this buttered dish. It's been 30 minutes and you can see there's still a little liquid in it, but the bread has absorbed most of it, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. The butter has definitely cooled in there, and you can see it little specks throughout. So now I'm just going to even this out, push it around. You don't want to like force it into the pan, but you do want it to be pretty firmly packed in there. There we go. Now this is going to go into a moderate oven, so 325 degrees, until the custard has set. So it's like you were making cheesecake perhaps, where it might be a little jiggly in the middle, but it will be cooked all the way through. And if you're having any doubts about it at all, use a skewer or a toothpick and test in the middle. If it comes out dry or reasonably dry, you know you're at the right spot. If it's still really runny on your skewer, then it's not ready yet. So 40 to 45 minutes in a 325 degree oven, and we'll be back to have a look at it after that and get it to cooling, because we want to be able to eat it for dinner tonight, and it needs to cool for maybe 6 hours. So then we'll make a topping for it that is truly delicious as well, of course. Anyway, I'll be back here in about 45 minutes when this is coming out of the oven. Here it is. This is still bubbly. This is a beautiful bread pudding. Now, bread pudding is a really old-fashioned way of using up dried bread. In this case, I used hot cross buns, and I'm going to leave the recipe in the link, the description box below, as I do with all my recipes. But don't go away, because I'm going to allow this to cool on the counter for an hour, And then I'm going to refrigerate it for 3 to 6 hours to get it good and cold, chilled. And then we're going to build a sauce for the top of it. So don't go away. Come back and see how this all turns out. Okay, I've cooled off the bread pudding, and I have it sitting here to the side getting ready to put the sauce on the top. And into this pot that I have here, this is a cooked sauce, I'm going to break 1 egg. And again, these are extra large eggs, but the size doesn't really matter for this. There's not enough of a difference for it to mess with the recipe. We need a 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to dump all these ingredients in at the same time, and then I'm going to whisk it up and take it to the stove top and cook it there until it thickens. So 3/4 of a cup of 1/2 and 1/2, or I had 18% cream, that's what I used. I want a little shake of cinnamon, not very much, probably not 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe around that. I'm going to get the nutmegs back out, and I'm going to just grate a couple of grates, that'll be enough. Nutmeg in. I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and if it was a little more, it wouldn't hurt anything. And because I have it, I wouldn't recommend that you just go out and buy this just for one recipe, but I actually seriously bought this for a recipe about 5 years ago, and I used it for the same recipe over and over, and I still have a 1/2 bottle of it left. This is triple sec. It is an orange liqueur, and keeping in the theme of Jesus' crucifixion, the bitterness of the orange represents the bitterness of his death. And so I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of triple sec. It's quite strong, so you wouldn't need more than that. You definitely do not need to add the triple sec or any alcohol at all. Just stick with the vanilla if that's what you're comfortable with. Now I'm going to stir this really well. I'm going to whisk it really well. I'm going to take it to the stove, and once at the stove, I'm going to cook it until it thickens. And then I am going to come back and show you how I put it on the top, and we'll serve some out so that you can see what it looks like through all of its layers. I will be back in a few minutes. And here I am back, and I have stirred it. It has thickened up, and I just want it to quit bubbling before I start to pour it over. Now you could do this with a spoon and ladle it on, or you could just do what I'm going to do, and that is pour it on. And you have enough sauce here to well coat the top so that every bite gets some. There is even a little bit left that I'm not going to pour on. We can ladle on afterwards if we like. And now I'm going to cut it, and I'm really pleased with how well it's set up. And I'm going to just loosen it from around the edges. Not very often does it ever come out of the pan clean, let's just say that. Right off the bat. Just going to find a lifter and get my plate ready. And this is going to be a generous serving. There you go. There is hot cross bun bread pudding, made for the Christian holiday coming soon. But you could eat this anytime, as long as you can find a good quality bread that's made with eggs, like a brioche, then you'd be well on your way to making an absolutely delicious bread pudding that doesn't require a lot of fussing. So today, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and that if you have, you'll come back again. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That would be really useful to me. And in the meantime, folks, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.